thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Well, hello, this is Herbert, and you are listening to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. I got some favorite players. I like Chris Godwin and Chris Olave, and I like Young Hoku, and of course, Justin Hubbard. Well, you're listening to these guys, Jay and Chaz and Adam. They're really funny, and they're going to help you win some money. Oh, they're so good. I would like to take them out for some ice cream someday. All right, y'all. Enjoy the show.
Here we go. Hey, everything on three. Number three. 1 on 1. Oh. 1 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, a little mixed up in that. Eyes on three. Everything on 3. 1. Everything.
You are now listening to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. It's your boy. All I do is win, no matter what. Chaz, and the champ is here, guys. The champ is here, as always. You guys got to get that for the whole year until I'm dethroned.
I know. It's unfortunate that fantasy championships last as long as they do.
They sure do. And with me, to my virtual left, we've got the no nickname. What? That's the wrong one.
Wow. Wow. This guy's hammered.
Jake Coleman. What's up, dog?
What's up, fellas?
I'm not. I didn't even open my drink yet. That over there to my virtual right is the no nickname.
Here we go, boys.
What's your name, man?
What's going on, everybody?
Adam Van Houten, what's up, dog? And back for the attack on the second time, freshly off me and Adam joining his podcast. We have got
like a surgeon.
We got the proprietor of Team ZAGS over there. ZAGS, what's up, dog?
What is up, boys? Thank you again for having me on. Super appreciate it. Good times.
That is Dave. He was the owner of the first overall pick in the all-time fantasy draft, as well as the co-host of Let's Talk Nerdy.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, dude. So always good to be back on this show.
Yes.
So
always happy to have you. And thank you again for having us on your show yesterday. We had an absolute blast.
That's what I was going to say. This should be coming up.
And I have to say it on here too, Chaz. You and I, man, we nailed that draft, bud. We nailed that draft, and I know Dave is super upset about it.
All I do is win.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I had to.
That's
all I'm gonna say about it.
We decided we cannot have the Fantasy Football Bros on the podcast without doing a draft. So if you guys want to check it out, we did a draft of the all-time best sports games, in which we may or may not have lost, but regardless, we all threw out some great titles. So it was a good time. It was a great
draft. Awesome time.
And when is that coming out? So the video of this will be out tomorrow, Thursday. The audio comes out either Thursday or Friday. When can we expect the podcast that you're talking about?
I mean, I don't want to do any competition, but ours is also going to be coming out the same exact day. But here's the deal, guys. Great stuff. You can listen to the Fantasy Football Bros podcast, and then once you're done with that, jump over, check out the Let's Talk Nerdy podcast, and you're going to get a double dose.
I just want to say that when Dave was setting up mine and Adam's inclusion on the show, he's like, "Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be about a half hour." And part one of our 2-part segment was over an hour.
Yeah, we. I mean, it's expected with the Fantasy Football Bros. I mean,
it was a good time. The going longer is always good. It's when you get cut short, that's when you're probably it's happened to me, man. I've been cut short and I was never invited back. So that's going longer is always better.
I asked Dave, I said, how much time we got? He said
unlimited.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so we are continuing our series of previews, I would suppose, about the divisions. And we're going to get that rolling. But I just wanted to say to everybody, and I got a little fun sound drop here. It is July 5th. I wanted to make sure that everybody had a great and safe 4th of July weekend. Happy Independence Day. And
Police the world.
wait for it.
Okay.
Hell yeah, here it is.
All right. You're out of your mind. Great drop though. Great song.
Amazing drop.
That is our song of the week, by the way. Spoiler alert.
That's amazing. I mean, of course, Independence Day for America. It had to be.
Yeah. So
It had to be the song of the week.
So the song of the week, and also before we get rolling, what's everybody drinking?
Well, today I have the same as I did yesterday on the Let's Talk Dirty podcast. Is I have these new. Jay, you didn't see these yesterday. These are Monster flavored Monster hard seltzer drinks.
Oh, really?
They got rid of the energy and the caffeine and the sugar, so it's just the flavor. This one is this is Scary Berries. These are very good. If you like monsters, totally recommend checking them out.
Scary
Danger.
Berries. That's the nickname for my balls. Dave, you
That explains a lot.
You got anything going on there?
I got nothing going on actually, which is kind of disappointing. So yeah, I did not come prepared. I'm sorry.
Jay's probably with you. What do you got, Jay? Anything special?
No, water.
Yeah, boo. But what, Jay? What are you drinking? Water. And then I'm going a little highbrow today, a little high class. We've got Bush Light Peach.
Oh yeah,
Let's go.
there you go. It's a little higher on the.
Yeah, we
spectrum
went a little high class. You know,
There you go.
sometimes. So here you go, everybody. This is for you at home.
there. Hey,
Oh,
happy Independence Day, everybody!
Independence
Great week.
Day. Virtual cheers.
Cheers for
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers.
Hope nobody got hurt this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah,
No JP.
just hope everybody had a great day.
No.
Well, the reason I brought these drinks, hey, here it goes. It's because we fucking need one with these divisions.
Yeah, this is a tough one today. I hate both of these divisions. I think they're the worst.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. So we're going to start alphabetically with the NFC. We're starting with those Atlanta Falcons. How was my Falcon?
That was fantastic.
That was more
actually.
like a Raven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
We'll let it go.
Same thing. All right. So Jay, why don't you tell me about their key additions / re-signings?
Calais Campbell, Jesse Bates, Matt Collins, Tyler Heineke, Caden Ellis, David Onyemata, Bud Dupree, Jonnu Smith, Scotty Miller, Caleb McGarry, Chris Lindstrom.
I absolutely love all these. I think most of these are fantastic. Calais Campbell, I know he's like 95 years old, but he can totally anchor your line. Jesse Bates is near. I don't know if he is a Pro Bowler, but he's nearly a Pro Bowler. Matt Collins had a great year. Scotty Miller is always, a wild card. Tyler Heineke is a great backup. Edge Dupree is nearly a Pro Bowler. I loved what they did here.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, but it's Atlanta. I don't like Atlanta. They don't move the needle for me like at all. Like fantasy wise, I mean, obviously we have a little bit to talk about with this year, but just don't do it for me. Atlanta just never was one of those teams. I'm like, oh my god, minus the Michael Vick years. Because everybody knows that the Michael Vick years were the best years.
Well, here's the thing. All those players I just mentioned, they only lost Isaiah Oliver, Marcus Mariota, and another lineman, which doesn't really matter. But
Doesn't matter.
Dave, what is their key piece, their new shining star that they got in the offseason?
I mean, how long have you had this on your schedule for? Like, you've had this marked on your calendar the day we get to talk about the one and only BIJAN Robinson, right?
Chaz loves talking about this guy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's
He
definitely
talks about Bijan.
we might as well just put our headsets down because we're gonna listen for now.
Yes. So the key addition, newly drafted BIJAN Robinson. Go ahead, Chaz. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know you want to get it all out, so we'll just let you get it all out now.
I mean, I haven't talked about Bijan. It's been a while. All right. So
Just go
Not-
check out
not
our
every
YouTube and
week.
check out why not.
even way before he was
number
even
one.
drafted.
Yeah,
I think I was even talking about him touting him last season.
You probably were.
I think you might have been.
I think I was talking. I honestly think I was talking about him because of Breece Hall and kind of diminishing Breece Hall's value because of the excitement for Bijan. But so Bijan Robinson, this is why I'm excited. And if you guys noticed on our brand new TikTok and in our shorts that we started doing on YouTube, Bijan Robinson, I made the TikTok that said, why can't he be the number 1 overall running back this year? And he's going in the first round. I mean, there's always durability concerns, but comparative to who's going to go before him, I said this, possibly Eckler, CMC, Jonathan Taylor. All 3 of those have injury concerns. 2 of them have age concerns. 1 of them has contract concern. So there's no reason why you couldn't expect the 22-year-old best running back prospect in ages coming out, who is behind an offensive line in a running scheme that had the corpse of Cordell Patterson be productive for 2 years and a 5th-round draft pick in Tyler Algier rush for over 1,000 yards. The way that now the Falcons are a little, I feel, conservative when it comes to obviously their offense, but with their rookies, right? Kyle Pitts hasn't really done anything. Drake London hasn't done anything. But once Patterson went down, they gave it to Algier, the rookie. He ran with the ball for 1,100 yards or so. It makes me feel that this is Bijan's team right from the get-go, at least 50-50, and he's just going to go to the moon from there. And a quite possibly number 1 fantasy football finish. The guy is big, strong, fast. He's just a very exciting prospect, and he went to an ideal system for his young years here.
Yeah, I do not disagree with anything you said, especially about their running game. And like you said, Cordero Patterson had a good year, then he gets injured, and Tyler Algier comes in and plays really well down the stretch. I had Tyler Algier in my starting lineup when I won the championship in my other league. So I am all for drafting Falcons running backs. I am also not fond of drafting rookie running backs. It's just a thing that I have during fantasy football. Same. But I mean, hey, it's going to be. I'm excited to see what he has to offer. So I'm in for it. I agree with everything you said. I don't have anything else to add.
What do you got? What do you got to say, Dave, about my bussin' Bijan Bay? What do you got?
I mean, here's the thing, right? So there's no denying that the talent is there, right? And I think it comes down to what type of fantasy player you are, because like you said, he's being drafted as a top 5 running back. He's going in the first round. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's people that are willing to go out on a limb and grab a rookie running back in the first round and just wait for that explosion. And then there's people that's not. And I think, personally, as a fantasy player, I want some consistency. I want to know what I'm getting myself into. Right. And especially out of my first round pick. On my first round pick, I want to know what I'm getting. And I just think that I think if you want Bijan, you got to take him in the first round because he's going to go and somebody's going to roll the dice. But I don't think I'm personally going to be the one to roll the dice on him. So, that's where I stand on him.
Agreed. Yeah.
So my thing with Bijan and rookie running backs is I do a lot of keeper leagues. So you're allowed to keep players, and that becomes your draft pick from whenever you drafted them last year, or however you want to do it. If I know that I have a running back that I can count on every week as one of my keepers, then I might take a chance on him. That way I can kind of feel him out, and then maybe get a running back too later on in the draft, maybe like a David Montgomery. Or somewhere along those lines later on in the draft. That would, or Jamal Williams possibly. We still don't know what could. And
David Montgomery is Bumbles Jr. That's what I think.
He could be the new Bumbles, man. He went to hard-nosed Dan Campbell's offense. So we'll see what happens. But that would be the only reason why I would take Bijan is if I know I had a running back one already stored up in my keeper list.
Here's my thing about Bijan, right? If you're looking back in the last, say, 5-6 years on rookie running backs, everyone's got this bad taste in their mouth on running backs lately, just because the NFL has a bad taste in their about running backs lately. But look at the first running backs that were taken in the last few drafts. Last year it was Breece Hall, and he was
and he was great. Absolutely great.
Against all my judgments, he was fantastic.
Yeah, mine too. I shit on him so hard, and it was, excuse me, it's mostly because he was a Jet.
Yeah. And we go a year prior, it was Najee Harris. Najee Harris was great. We go a year prior, it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay, there's a swing and a miss, but that's because Patrick Mahomes thinks he's the GM when they should have took Jonathan Taylor, who was the next one, right? Who was fantastic.
Yep.
Who was the year before that? Josh Jacobs. Great. Who was the year before that? Saquon Barkley. Great. Who was the year before that? Leonard Fournette. Great. Who was the year before that? Ezekiel Elliott. Great. Right. So it's like
This guy with his draft knowledge is unbelievable, guys. I'm telling you.
oh, and the year before that, Todd Gurley. So like there is an investment on running backs, and running backs can perform. Out of all those running backs, I said it was obviously Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a swing and a miss, but the next running back was Taylor, who should have probably went there, but that was just a bad call drafting in general, and as well as DeAndre Swift. So it's like the way I look at this situation, and I won't make this the whole Bijan minute here, but the way I look at the situation is in your first round, if you're taking this player that is like a wild card. Last year, Christian McCaffrey was a wild card. He's coming off of 2 seasons of injuries. Oh my God, Jonathan Taylor is God. He is the greatest thing ever. He's easily the first overall pick. Don't even think about Christian McCaffrey. I said it then, and I put this with Bijan as well. Just because you don't know what you're getting with this guy, he's a rookie. You need to be good enough to pivot on that. If you draft Bijan and he's not as good as you thought, you should be good enough to be able to have backup running backs or get people off free agency to plug in that hole and make that move. Because if he does hit, like Christian McCaffrey did for me in the league last year, I won the championship because of that. And that's like game-winning, championship-altering moves, I feel. And that's why it's like you need to be a good enough fan and have, like, if you're going to go for that home run. Same thing in my other league. Now, I swung and missed in the other league. I went with DeAndre Swift instead of Saquon Barkley. Why? I stayed away from the injury. And I swung and I missed because of it. But I also had Josh Jacobs, so I kind of was, like, good enough. I didn't win the championship, but I was good enough to cover my ass. So I think if you do go with one of these wild cards that you're not sure of, you need to like not do the cliche thing of right now of like, I just drafted in the first 5 rounds. I've got 3 wide receivers. No, you might want to skip that and maybe get another running back to cover your ass.
I 100% agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm not shitting on Bijan Robinson, right? So obviously the talent is there, and he's going to be a 3-down back. He's going to be in the workhorse role. I don't see Algier really coming in and taking a lot of carries from him.
I agree.
And to find a workhorse running back in the NFL now is really hard. I mean, most teams are running a 60-40, maybe even a 50-50 split. So he's got a lot going for him. My thing is like if you take Bijan Robinson in the first round, like Chaz said, it really kind of dictates the rest of your draft, right?
Yeah,
so if you take Bijan Robinson first round, you better have 3 running backs on your team by like round 5, because not only is there a chance that you could swing and miss, but a lot of times these rookie running backs, they're great, but they start off really slow. And you're going to need somebody probably in that, week 1, 2, 3 spot that's going to help you kind of get through the hurdle of like waiting for them to get into the swing of things. So
absolutely.
Like I said, I'm not shitting on Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to be an amazing fantasy player. I just think if you're going to take him that early, it really does dictate how the rest of your draft goes.
And here's the last tidbit about, I'm glad you brought it up. So say you go the 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds and say Bijan does hit it. And you're sitting there with, say, Bijan and Ramondre Stevenson and Joe Mixon. Okay, just say those are the 3 guys you grabbed. And they're all doing good. If Bijan hits it, there's going to be 4 teams in this league that drafted 37 wide receivers and have no running backs, because that's the hot thing to do is draft wide receivers. You've got major trade bait to get rid of Joe Mixon for a great wide receiver or something like that in those cases. That's what you get with Bijan. But then you're comfortable enough to sit there and be like, well, I have 3 good running backs. Maybe I'm not moving off of them. So I don't want to focus at all. I don't want to focus on Bijan, but he's the big one. We obviously got to talk real quick, run through their receiving core. Jay, do you have the thing pulled up, the depth chart?
Yep.
What do we got for the receiver core?
Drake London, Matt Collins, Scotty Miller, and then the biggest bust, Kyle Pitts.
And that's where I want to go.
Where I want to go. Kyle Pitts he's just been so disappointing for this freak athlete, and he was a highly rated tight end that year, and just
The
he is
highest
not.
drafted tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaz tried telling me last year that he was going to be good, and I was the only one that said he wasn't going to be.
And he was still getting drafted early in drafts. And it's crazy. And he still is getting drafted highly. You know, he's probably like I've seen analysts rank him as like the fourth tight end off the board.
He's looking around like 4, 5, 6. I mean, I see him a little later. I think people might be sleeping on him a bit. I don't expect him to be a big breakout like I thought last year.
I don't think he's going to be a breakout either.
But if you're taking somebody, say, like Dallas Goedert over him, like Dallas Goedert's upside is just touchdowns, and he needs those touchdowns. Where Kyle Pitts is going to get. Kyle Pitts has already had 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He's getting the touchdowns. That's the problem. So it's like if he can turn it on and get, double his
classic Atlanta receivers. They get all the yards and the receptions, but no touchdowns.
Like if you're taking a swing on a tight end, you might as well. And Kyle Pitts is there. You might as well take Kyle Pitts if you're swinging anyway. So I mean,
Dave, off the top of your head, where do you have Kyle Pitts in your tight end ranking?
So where I've seen Kyle Pitts go is basically ADP 5, and I'm nowhere close to that. I mean, I would put him. In my personal rankings, I struggle to put him inside my top 10.
Holy shit. Wow.
I really just don't and I think it has a lot to do with I've been burnt on Kyle Pitts so many years.
So have I.
Yeah, I've just been burnt on this dude for so long that I draft him consistently waiting for the Kyle Pitts that like is supposed to come, and it never happens. And I think just in my mindset, I've pushed him that far out. But I really, like you said, we were talking about Dallas Goedert, right? Well, Dallas Goedert's upside is touchdowns, but it's consistent touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, what you're getting with the dude. I would much more feel comfortable going into my season with Dallas Goedert as my tight end than Kyle Pitts.
Here's a question, Dave, that might make you throw up in your mouth. Kyle Pitts or Pratt Freiermuth?
Oh boy.
Who's Pratt?
Pratt. It's Chris Pratt's brother, Pratt.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with Freiermuth.
Wow.
I am over Kyle Pitts. And it's quarterback. It's quarterback play. I have no faith. I have no faith in Desmond Ritter.
I don't either.
Last year Kyle Pitts was ranked 33 in tight ends.
Yeah, he only played half the season too, so barely half the season. Probably.
Barely.
That's interesting. I mean, you're having more faith in Kenny Pickett than Ritter. I think Ritter's actually should be on people's radar for fantasy football as your backup because he's got good weapons and he can move and he can run. So who knows? That's the only thing.
I say it all the time. Bad teams are fantasy gold.
Yeah.
They always play from behind. They're going to have big points, but they're also going to, they're also going to get you like 4 interceptions.
I've got a little faith in Ritter. And when it comes to, I think the big anomaly is Drake London. I don't know what to say about this guy. I loved him coming out last year.
I did too. I drafted him last year.
I just don't know where to say. I don't know where to put him. Wherever I see him drafted, it feels a bit high, but he has so much upside. He is a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson blew up. And I still think he's a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson. He was drafted ahead of Garrett Wilson, and I don't know why he couldn't make the turn. Was it just Marcus Mariota? Because Marcus Mariota has never had a great wide receiver in the NFL. Like he's never produced a great wide receiver in the NFL. So it's a second year. It's really like a brand new rookie. So I don't know what to say for him. So is anybody high on him? Is anybody low on him?
I am not high on him. I'll tell you that.
The problem with Atlanta is like I'm going into all my drafts knowing I'm not getting any Falcons players, and the reason is just because their ADP is so much higher than where I value them, and I just know that like I'm like Drake London is going in like the 4th round sometimes. I'm not taking Drake London in the 4th round as my possible wide receiver too. I can't do it. So like I see talent there. I see the possibility for certain players to blow up, but I feel like unless you're willing to really roll the dice, you're probably not going to end up with any Falcons players because there's going to be dudes in your draft that are going to roll the dice and going to take them in that early ADP spot. It's most likely not going to be me though.
we're sleeping on somebody, and I don't know who it is, and I'm not going to say it's Drake London. I'm not going to say it's fucking Scotty Miller. We're sleeping on somebody because this team got a lot better. They're going to be a better team. They were almost in the playoffs last year. This division's a train wreck. They're a lot better of a team, and they are going to score some more points this year, and I don't know who to say other than BIJAN is the guy we're sleeping on. It could even be Ritter. Ritter could break out and be a top. Ritter could be this year's Geno Smith. You don't know. So I don't know. Has anybody got any last words to say about the Atlanta Falcons? And we'll do our ranking of the divisions at the end.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
All right, we're going to move on to what do we got next? The Carolina Panthers, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They had a big offseason. Adam, why don't you tell me who they had brought in?
Oh, well, let's see here. Our key additions and re-signings. One of the biggest ones for me is their head coach, Frank Reich. I love Frank Reich. I was really hoping that when he was available that the Bills were going to take him and sign him as their head coach. I'm not unfortunate because I do like Sean McDermott, but they didn't get him. And Sean McDermott's been great, but I really like Frank Reich there. Running back Miles Sanders. They bring in DJ Chark, safety Von Bell, tight end Hayden Hurst, which is actually a really good signing for them.
Both of them.
Yeah. Wide receiver Adam Thielen, my fantasy crush. I can't hate on him. They bring in Andy Dalton, Bradley Bozeman, and then kicker Eddie Pinheiro.
That's a lot of big moves.
And then their draft, their biggest one, obviously, quarterback Bryce Young.
Hey there,
and
fella.
They draft wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, and then an edge rusher. But
lot to cover there.
Yeah,
they got
Pickles.
Pickles has made her appearance.
Pickles on my pickles.
Half butt in the face. Thank you for that. Okay, Jay, why don't you read me their depth chart because there's a lot of names there.
Bryce Young, Miles Sanders,
Hey there, little fella.
Adam Thielen is wide receiver 1 on this. DJ Chark,
Wow.
Terrence Marshall Jr., and then Hayden Hurst.
I like the addition of Hayden Hurst for them.
I do too.
This
I
team-
liked Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
He was always a guy that I targeted on my team just as a backup tight end. Probably. I actually had him as my tight end 1 on some of my teams.
I'm sure me and Dave are going to say the same thing, and that is that
Hey there, little fella.
this team goes as far as Bryce Young takes them, right, Dave?
Of course.
I believe so as well.
Yeah.
I think so. I think this team, there's going to be a lot of fantasy value here, though, and I think it goes a lot further than Bryce Young. I feel like people are sleeping on Miles Sanders a little bit.
They're in a fucking winter slumber.
Yeah, I 100%. Yeah, Miles Sanders is one of those that I've been burned by quite a bit. So,
Same.
But he's got a new team, and Donta Foreman played really well there. I kind of liked him there. So Miles Sanders is definitely a sleeper pick. He's definitely somebody that I'll probably be targeting later on if I could. He's a great running back too, for sure.
Yeah, because what's Miles Sanders' current ADP right now? He's like running back 22, something like that.
5th round.
Yeah, late. I mean, it's late. People are definitely sleeping on him, and we've seen what he's done in Philly. We've all been burnt by the 4 touchdown Miles Sanders game. He's got Chuba Hubbard in the, sitting behind him, which we've seen for seasons that Carolina has no faith in him. So I'm not worried about Chuba Hubbard stealing any carries away from Miles Sanders.
None.
We get a rookie running back, and Carolina has always been a scheme that runs heavy. And with a rookie running back or a rookie quarterback, they're probably going to lean heavier onto that play. And random running backs have just excelled in this situation. Like we talked about Deonta Foreman last year, and I don't know. I feel like Miles Sanders is some really late round RB2 value. Who
has his ceiling is RB1 for sure.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like that's the biggest takeaway out of Carolina is like get you some Miles Sanders in the 4th round while everybody else is sleeping on that 5th round waiting on him. And like have it set it and forget it RB2 with like ridiculous RB1 potential.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to bring that up. I think Miles Sanders, even though I'm not a big fan of the guy, and just in general, like he was never the most talented back. He wasn't even a starter in college because he was back up to Saquon Barkley. And it's just like he had his chance in Philly and he always was kind of crappy until this last year. But the thing is now he's going into a feature role and he's going to almost just as good of an offensive line. An offensive line, like that Adam said, brought, a 400-pound Dante Foreman to be good. Dante Foreman, I was running as my RB2 on my championship team last year, just for a while, just because he was pulling it out after they traded away Christian. So, like, I think Miles Sanders is the golden ticket of this entire offense for fantasy football. Guys, please don't waste your draft pick on Adam Thielen. Please don't do it. Don't waste your draft pick on Adam Thielen. He is 47 years old, I believe, and he has a quarterback who is 5'6" and needs to prove himself in the NFL still. So please don't waste it on Adam Thielen. Please.
I agree with that.
I love Adam Thielen, but
I do too. And he's been, believe it or not, he scored 9 touchdowns last year. Mm-hmm. That was pretty close to the top of the league in receiving touchdowns. But yeah, this year with the rookie quarterback, and I agree with Dave on his point that they're going to lean heavy on the run. I think, trying to work Bryce into the offense. Don't even bother. Don't even bother with Thielen. Maybe if somebody gets hurt, that you can pick them up on waivers later.
I do have a little counterpoint to this. Maybe. I would say, in your regular drafts, don't waste a pick on this. But Adam Thielen and DJ Chark is like fastly becoming my favorite wide receiver tandem in best ball leagues.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So, like, I hate to say it, but all right, Adam Thielen is kind of washed up. DJ Chark, you never know what you're going to get with him. We have rookie quarterback concerns, but also this is an NFL offense. I mean, somebody is going to catch the ball, and you can get you can get these guys in like you could literally go back to back Adam Thielen, DJ Chark in like the 15th, 16th round in a best ball league. And you don't need that consistency where you're worried about, oh no, Adam Thielen's like my wide receiver 3. Like I need him to do something. But there's going to be weeks where these guys, like there's going to be a random week here and there where it's like, oh, Adam Thielen has 4 catches and 3 touchdowns. And you're just like, okay, well, that's on the waiver wire in most leagues. But on a best ball team, like I'll take it.
It's interesting. And I don't know if you heard our whole episode last week, Dave, but I don't know if you knew this, but DJ Chark and who's the other guy we were comparing him to? DJ Chark and Marvin Jones Jr.
Marvin Jones
are the same guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. And they're the same guy, and they follow each other from team to team to team, and they can, I don't know, both stay on the waiver wire when it comes to me, especially nowadays with,
Hey there, little fella.
As much as it does pain me, and I do have, and I know Jay does too, and we both have him as our fantasy crutch. And we did last year anyway. It pains me to not draft him, to be honest. I don't think I will be drafting him this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders get a bunch of catches either from the check down for Bryce Young. But Bryce Young, I've never been sold on in general, and he's a little bit more on the conservative side. So watch out for Hayden Hurst and Miles Sanders. And you know what? Maybe Adam Thielen, because he's probably slower than the starting tight end nowadays. He's basically like a second tight end. So maybe if that's the case, maybe Thielen will have a good one. Jay, you didn't really say much about this, and I know you have man crush forever on Adam Thielen, but who do you like on this team in general? Because I know you like Adam Thielen, I know you hate Miles Sanders, and so I'm I'm wondering what you have to say.
I don't really like anyone on this team, honestly. I mean, Sanders, I was sleeping on him for sure. ESPN has him ranked as 23rd for running backs right now. But other than that, I don't believe in Bryce Young, so I probably wouldn't draft a wide receiver from them. But
all right,
yeah, I was even during the draft, I was kind of shocked, and I said this to Chaz in the group chat that they should have went Stroud. That's my opinion. I think they should have went CJ Stroud, but they didn't. So we have Bryce Young to see what he can do.
Well, they should have.
But again,
they should have went with Richardson, but we'll talk about him shortly. We'll actually talk about all of them.
Yeah,
right now. Actually, all four of the quarterbacks were in these Southern divisions. I just realized that. All right. Well, we're good to move on then, right? So let's go.
I think so.
And let's talk about the New Orleans Saints, who almost made the playoffs as well. And Dave, did they have some key additions this year?
Hold on 1 second, because y'all scroll way faster than me. The one that we're all kind of, very obvious is Derrick Carr, and I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out.
Me too. I am too. I like Derrick Carr. I've always liked Derrick Carr, and I think a lot of people sleep on him from year to year.
Yeah, for sure.
They brought in Derrick Carr. Is this a drop for Carr? They have
there we go.
Derrick Carr.
There it is.
And of course, they brought in
Bumbles bounce.
So
Best running back in the league.
Running back in the league.
Little Jamal Williams action. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for what this team can do. How do you guys feel about the whole Alvin Kamara situation?
That's the wild card situation.
That's the tough one, I think, for the Saints. Is I've seen Kamara drop in fantasy drafts. When I did my best ball, the one that Chaz and I were in together, I got Kamara pretty late in the draft, and then I did end up coming back around and taking Jamal Williams as well. So if you are looking at Kamara, definitely take Jamal Williams, because we still don't know what's going to happen with his legal situation.
He's going to get suspended.
He's definitely. I think they were talking about a suspension last season. So. And of course, we all know the NFL takes forever to suspend guys. So this very well could be the year where he misses 6 games, and you're going to need a running back. So,
I was just in a best ball where Kamara went. I don't remember the exact round, but Dave, I'm not even joking to you. They were taking scrub wide receivers over Kamara. Elijah Moore went before Kamara. Who was the other one that went for Kamara? Like Alan Lazard. It's just these Brandon Cooks went before Alvin Kamara, and I couldn't believe it.
That's a weird one to me too.
Here's the best thing about Kamara, though. If he does get suspended, say it's a 6 game, and that's what I'm going with in my head, 6 game suspension. I think that's good.
Kind of been the standard in the NFL.
In a sense, meaning like you're going to get Kamara healthy, off for a whole summer, 6 game suspension on your team for the last, for the playoff run. If not, 6 game suspension, it's what, mid-October ish.
If you can get 2 running backs that can carry you, even if you don't win all 6 of the first games that he's suspended, if you go 3-3 or even 2-4 is respectable in a way that you can come back from that. Yeah, you can come back from that, and then like you said.
But where you're drafting Kamara?
But where you're drafting him, the value for him, it's insane. The value for Kamara there, if he is dropping that late, that's some really good value. And I have no problem drafting Kamara late if he's available, if everybody's passing up on him because of his situation.
Jay, is Derrick Carr a quarterback upgrade from what they had last year?
Yeah, I think so.
I think.
Coming from what they had, Jameis Winston, and then he got hurt, and Andy Dalton went the rest of the way, and they threw in Taysom Hill every now and again.
Yeah,
Dave, do you think it's an upgrade?
I think Carr is an upgrade. We've seen what he did with Devontae Adams. We were all I know a lot of people were worried about Devontae Adams going over to the Raiders and not being as successful, downgrading from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. And, we've all seen what happened there. I do think it's an upgrade. I think Derek Carr can throw the ball. I think he makes good decisions. Obviously he's not perfect, but the best thing about him is he's not mobile. So, if you got a wide receiver on that team, you're going to get some looks because Derek Carr isn't tucking it and run it for 12-yard touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Here's another wild card on this team. Are we going to see the corpse of Michael Thomas play some fucking games?
That's what I was going to talk about. Talk about sleeping on somebody. This
Michael Thomas is cool.
Well, he hasn't played in like 47 years.
It's tough. Wild card for sure. I thought he was a steal last year going in the 5th round, and now he's going in like the 10th. Are you kidding me? This guy led the greatest receiving season of all time just like 4 years ago. So he's only 30. like I don't know, like major sleeping on Michael Thomas. Like, yeah, we all like Olave, but Olave did what he did last year without Michael Thomas for most of the year. Because if you guys remember,
You're right.
if you guys remember, Michael Thomas, the first 2 games was already starting to tear it up. The first 2 games, Michael Thomas had like 3 touchdowns, and then
he is 30.
Okay, yeah, so it's not like he's ancient. He's the same age as Diggs.
Yeah, true. Jay, what's their starting lineup?
Derrick Carr, Kamara, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, and Juwan Johnson.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I like Dennis Allen. I don't think he's bad. He's not a bad coach.
I don't know about it. I can't get on that bandwagon.
All 3 of their wide receivers are currently hurt, though.
I'm not saying he's great, but I'm not saying he's the worst head coach out there. But I mean, the Saints definitely have some players to target, and especially if you're getting them late and as late as they're being drafted, Kamara, Thomas, that's great value. Value.
Dave, what is your feeling on Thomas? Because we kind of skipped over you, because that is to me the most intriguing player.
All right, Michael Thomas for me is, it's almost like kicking the tires on Josh Gordon. You know what I mean? It's like you just keep waiting for that like magical season to come back. But personally, I love Michael Thomas's value where it is, and the way that I draft is like I typically like to go running back heavy in the earlier rounds. So being able to grab a Michael Thomas in like the 7th, 8th, 9th round is key for me. So I mean, if I'm sitting there in the 7th, 8th round and Michael Thomas is still there, like I'll kick the tires. I'll see what he's got.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and the way that I draft, and like I said, I'm in a lot of keeper leagues, so I look for a lot of value late, and if Michael Thomas is there, and if he has a great season and stays on the field, I have a great keeper for next year.
Well, here's my argument to you, what you said about the Josh Gordon comparison. The Josh Gordon comparison is more, I think you can put that with Allen Robinson. We've had one good year in our entire career, and everybody jerks us off the rest of our lives. Where Michael Thomas was a badass for like 3 straight seasons. You know, and then has been who knows what is happening with this guy. Like,
right?
Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it contractual? Like, there's something weird going on with Michael Thomas. But maybe he's over it. Like, I don't know, hopefully. But we would all be heartbroken. If Michael Thomas gets drafted in the 10th round, we'll just say 9th round, and he ends up being the wide receiver 6 on the year, everybody will be kicking their ass.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you got to look for, right? And it's like, we talk a lot about draft strategy, and, draft strategy, a lot of people, won't take risks in the first couple of rounds. They want that consistency, but like round 7, 8, 9, like that's where you should be taking risks.
Those are your risk rounds for sure.
Yeah.
Those mid rounds are your risk rounds for sure. And that's what I said with the keeper aspect of it. And a lot of my leagues are keepers. And like I said, if he blows up again and has a great season, I have a wide receiver 1 locked up for next year already. Okay. In a late round, I'll take it any day of the week.
And even in a redraft league, I mean, if you end up with a wide receiver 1 in the 8th round, like that's such a huge advantage. And if you don't end up with a wide receiver 1 out of the 8th round, like whatever, you lost your 8th round spot.
That was basically Devontae Smith last year.
Right.
No, Devontae Smith is like getting drafted in the early 2nd round this year, and he was a probably double-digit round pick last year. So that's what wins you leagues sometimes like that. So I'm interested. I just do want to move along because we're taking a long time here, and I want to see what we're all picking for this division. But we do have one more team to talk about, right?
Barely.
We do.
No, this team is very interesting to me, actually, and I do want to talk about them. So let's talk about, actually, to be fair, we have to talk about
reigning, defending, undisputed
NFC South champions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had some key additions. They brought in Baker Mayfield. They brought in Jay's favorite running back of all time, Chase Edmonds.
Your favorite running back.
And they lost. Hang on, ready? Leonard Fournette, Donovan Smith, Akeem Hicks, Cameron Braid, O.J. Howard. I don't know why he's on there because they didn't even have him last year. Sean Murphy Bunting, Scotty Miller, Ryan Sucka, Blaine Gabbert, and their second-string quarterback, Tom Brody, whoever that is. So, and of course, they lost the GOAT Brady. So, like, wow, what a difference in this team. I mean, I picked this team to be in the Super Bowl last year.
So did I. To me, this screams tank. It does. It screams tank. And the reason it screams tank is because I don't know do we know how good Baker Mayfield is? No, because he was on the shitty Browns. He didn't play very well. Everybody wanted his head on a freaking stake by week 6. It screams tank. And if they don't tank, and I mean, Caleb Williams is the one coming out next year, right? Is that right? He's like the top quarterback prospect already. We haven't even had a season yet.
Probably the best one since Lawrence.
Yeah, exactly. Like, please, Tampa Bay. This screams tank for me. It really does.
Okay, Jay, what is their starting lineup? Because I think we might be over exaggerating here. What is their starting lineup, Jay?
Mayfield, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Cade Otton at tight end.
It's really not that bad. And
it's not bad. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like they're coming into a season with guys, there's a slight chance, and I'm not going to say it, but Tom Brady looked washed up last year. There's a slight chance that, Baker Mayfield is just as good as Tom Brady last year was. Not in general.
No.
But there's a slight chance that Baker Mayfield is just as good as Tom Brady was last year. Now, what I think is like Rashad White's a great running back, great pass catching back. I think he's got great value in fantasy football. Do you want to talk about sleeping? Dave, the receivers on this team are getting drafted like 31st and 32nd receivers overall.
That was my point, honestly.
Absurd.
I love Mike Evans too. I am a stand for Mike Evans. I draft him in a lot of my leagues, and I traded for him in most of my leagues last year.
Yeah.
And he was on my championship winning team. Yes, he had Tom Brady, but Baker Mayfield is he's just mid to me. He's not exciting.
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
He's shot after that shoulder injury. So
well, what you're bringing up is exactly what I wanted to touch on. Mike Evans was a dog before Brady even got there.
I agree. Yeah.
Mike Evans has been playing with shoddy quarterback play half of his career, and he was always a dog. But here's the thing. Here is the major guy people are sleeping on. They always sleep on Chris Godwin.
I agree.
Let me tell you something, brother. Chris Godwin, people are like, oh my God, Brady's gone. Godwin's not going to be good. He's the short target guy. Usually, quarterbacks that don't have big arms go to the short target guy. If you guys remember correctly, remember who Baker's wide receivers were in Cleveland? It was Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. And everyone thought Beckham was going to be God. And Jarvis Landry tore it up with Baker Mayfield. Jarvis Landry is what Chris Godwin is, but light. Chris Godwin is going to play the role of Jarvis Landry, and I think Chris Godwin is going to have a top 15 season if Baker's decent, just in general. So the sleeping on Chris Godwin is absurd, as well as Evans, but I think Godwin suits better for Baker. But Dave, what is your take on this, Dave?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of like what we talked about. My take is just like we are really sleeping on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Evans is going for his 10th consecutive 1,000-yard season. He just always finds a way to make it work. And whether it's Brady with a dead arm or whether it's pray and spray Jameis Winston, like the dude just makes it happen. So like, and a lot of like what you said about Chris Godwin, like he's good. Like he's a good short target receiver.
Yeah, he is very good. I agree.
Say what you want about Baker Mayfield, but he is an NFL quarterback. He's going to throw the ball and these guys are going to get targets. And I think the value on this receiver set, especially for where they're being drafted, is just like top tier. Like I'm excited at the possibility of grabbing myself a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin in like the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th round because of how hard they're going. Right. Yeah.
It's flex.
Right. It's like absolutely insane.
I'll take Evans there all day.
Yeah, all day. So like, I'm actually excited for this receiving core going into the season and where their ADP is. The running back situation, though, I want no part of. For as good as Rashad White was, last year. He was good enough to ditch Fournette, but they brought Edmonds in for a reason. And Edmonds is that sneaky back that always finds a way to like work into a 60-40 split. And it's like, I don't know.
Chaz knows a little bit about Chase Edmonds.
Literally, Dave, as somebody that drafted Chase Edmonds in 8 of 8 leagues last year,
yep,
you couldn't be more off base right now. That's how he was before. But he was in Miami that they fucking dug up Raheem Mostert and traded for Jeff Wilson to boot him out to go to Denver, who had Javonte Williams tear his ACL and cut Melvin Gordon, and the guy still couldn't get on the field, and they dug up Latavius Murray and ran him out there. So I don't think Edmonds. That got my dander up because I am anti Edmonds after last year. I think he's dead to the NFL world, but I could be wrong. But
I think last year was a little bit of an anomaly, just with him floating around from team to team. Shoddy quarterback play out of Russell Wilson, obviously. I mean, the whole Miami situation. Who knows what was going on in Miami? They're running Jeff Wilson all over. Like, I think there was a lot of uncertainty. I think if they bring him in as a clear-cut RB2 from the start of the season, they're going to find a way to work him in. But either way, I think the main take from this is, like, if you're looking for late round amazing wide receivers, like, the Bucs are your team.
Yep.
Like, grab you some Mike Evans, grab you some Chris Godwin, 4th, 5th, 6th round, and like just set it and forget it.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield's, I don't know, he's not going to be on anybody's radar as a backup. But I think you're underrating Rashard White just a little bit, just because he is the only game in town, and we'll have to see what happens. So that brings us to the end of the NFC South division.
Thank God.
So we're talking,
finally.
We're talking about the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, and the as aforementioned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won last year. So I'm going to start with Jay here. Jay, well, how is this division shaking out?
I'm going Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Panthers.
Okay, Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Panthers. All right. Adam, give me yours.
I am going Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucks. I have to do it. Okay. I don't like Baker Mayfield, and I think he's going to be the reason why they finished 4th in the division.
Okay, all right. So fairly similar toss-ups in the middle. Dave,
they also don't have anybody behind Baker Mayfield. This guy Kyle Trask that nobody knows anything about. So if Baker Mayfield plays like shit, they're going. Yeah, I have to put him 4. All
right, Dave. So what do you got?
I'm going Saints, Bucks, Panthers, Falcons.
Wow, still high on Baker Mayfield. That's crazy.
I got a good.
Gotta do it.
It's not crazy. It's just personal opinion.
We're literally all going in a different direction. You're putting the Falcons at the bottom there. So I'm tossed up here, but I'm just going to be bold, and I'm going to say that they take that big step up. They have great offensive weapons. They're building their defense. I'm going to go Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers, and the Panthers are going to probably draft in the top 3 again next year because hey there, little fella, ain't it? And everything. And I like everything that the Falcons are doing. So, do
you have the that's a bold strategy, Cotton drop?
No, I don't.
Let's see how it works out for him. We got to add that one.
Yeah, I can get that. So that's where I'm going. So we literally, you guys are all high on the Saints, and I'm high on the Falcons, and me and Dave are a little bit higher on.
I'm high on the Falcons too.
Yeah, you were high. On that's right. So that's what I think. So okay, that was a lot to cover. So now we're going to. That's funny. Like the worst team, the worst.
The worst things is taking the longest so far.
Well, we also have a 4th guy on, and we all like to talk here. So whatever. We got no restrictions, no time restrictions. Okay,
I'll speed it up, boys.
No, don't worry about the time.
It's me or Adam that need to speed it up.
Yeah, usually.
So all right,
Jabberjaws.
That's very true. So we're headed to the AFC South Division, and when it comes to we're going right to the Houston Texans, guys. We're going to the Houston Texans, and they had some key additions. They brought in DeMeco Ryans. They brought in Robert Woods, which I totally didn't even remember. They brought in Dalton Schultz, Devin Singletary, Noah Brown. Case Keenum, didn't even know they brought him in. And then they brought in, of course, quarterback CJ Stroud, who is I'm not about in the slightest. So, Jay, do you have their depth chart up?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay. And they lost Brandon Cooks, Philip Dorsett, and OJ Howard. So it doesn't say OJ Howard, but he was on there last year.
All right. CJ Stroud, Damian Pierce, Robert Woods, Nico Collins, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz.
Anybody want to
This is a team that on paper got better on offense. A little bit. I'm curious to see what Stroud can do. Like I said, I thought that he should have been drafted over Bryce Young to Carolina. I thought he was a better overall quarterback, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think. But as far as like adding Dalton Schultz, that's big for them, and I'm really kind of surprised that Dallas let him go
because they thought they were going to get Kincaid.
True, they did think that they were going to get Kincaid, which obviously that didn't work out for them. But at the same time, like Dalton Schultz is a really good tight end. He's a really good outlet, and they don't really have any wide receivers to throw to. So Houston is another one of those teams where it's like, I'm not going to be drafting anybody from, especially Devin Singletary. But they have Damian Pierce, who was pretty good last year until he got hurt. But it was also a team that was just out of it from the beginning. So that's really all I have to say about the Texans. Did they get a little bit better? Maybe. I think they did, just not enough to propel them to the top of the division.
Well, Adam, remember,
your opinion really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
I get that. I get that a lot.
Jay, what do you got for these guys? I'm gonna go last. So
I don't like anything about this team. It's the Texans. They're trash. Their team is just decimated. So I don't really see them going anywhere.
All right, Dave. Here's a question. This team looks bad on paper, right? So what if they took CJ Stroud, and what if their plan is to next year be bad and have an early draft pick and pair him with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Oh no, they traded their next year's pick, which is going to be a top 3 pick, for fucking Will Anderson Jr. because he's D'Amico Ryans Jr., who's their head coach. Dave, this team boggles my mind. I think that was the worst trade in the NFL draft history.
I was blown away when I saw that.
Hey, they don't know how to make sausage, okay?
They don't know how to make sausage.
I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage.
Yeah, and that is this. Dave, talk. Am I on a ledge with this team that this is the worst team in the NFL and the worst trade ever? Like,
I mean, I hate to say it, but this team hasn't been anything since DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I have no idea what this team is doing or has been doing for like the past umpteen seasons. It like the Houston Texans is where players go to like fantasy players go to die. Is the Houston Texans?
Yeah, this team literally let Bill O'Brien just destroy the entire organization.
Yeah.
So like when they let him free reign with everything, they just completely just went to shit. So
they're letting D'Amico Ryans do the same thing. They traded their next year's first overall pick, which is their first round pick, which is going to be top 3 to get the lineman Will Anderson, who is number 55 that went to Alabama. Guess who D'Amico Ryans is? A lineman who are number 55 that went to Alabama. Like, he literally drafted himself. So they drafted, which I think is the worst quarterback of the draft, and I've never shied away from that. And they traded their next draft pick to draft. It blows my mind. I'm not saying anything bad about Will Anderson's talent or anything like that, but like that trade set this team up for failure for the next decade. Will Anderson has to come out and be better than Myles Garrett to make this trade work, and he's not going to be anywhere close. He's not.
Yeah.
And like talking about that, CJ Stroud, who I think is the worst quarterback of the draft, going into having absolutely no weapons, the guy can't move. How is this guy going to succeed? So they make a trade up to bring in a defensive lineman. Why not make a trade up and take Jackson Smith and Jigba and give your guy? Why not do something like that? They were teammates in college. This team boggles my mind. I mean, spoiler alert, they're the bottom of this division. Well, maybe this division's a little bit of a joke, but I'm sorry.
They're definitely. If there was a 5th, I would put them at 5.
Dave, I cut you off. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The only bright side here, from any type of standpoint, is like let's give a round of applause for Brandon Cooks, who finally got out of this nonsense. Let's look for obviously moving to Dallas. CD is number one. He's going to have to compete with Gallup for whatever you want to say over there. He finally went to a team that actually is going to try to win a football game. So let's just the bright note here is let's just give a round of applause for Brandon Cooks, who got out of this nonsense. Good job, Brandon Cooks.
Traded for what, a seventh time?
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah. I'm sure he wasn't upset about moving this time. I'll tell you that.
I don't think so either.
I'm gonna tell you, guy, all you Damian Pierce simps out there, they like him. He's such a good, talented running back that they went and gave Devin Singletary a much bigger contract than he deserved. Watch out now, because Damian Pierce is probably going to be off the Texans within 2 years, because he's just not that guy, and it pissed me off all year. The only reason he had any fantasy value last year is because who else had fantasy value for the Texans? Somebody needs to get yards, right? Yeah. So, and it's the same situation this year, except he has Devin Singletary now, who, it's fine. I think Devin Singletary is better career than Damian Pierce right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Singletary is sneaky, okay.
Yeah. So,
he could be another one that you could get super, super late.
Draft Pierce, draft Singletary.
Other than that, forget it.
Who's their receivers, Jay? Is it John Mechie, right? Isn't he one of them?
Yeah, Mechie, yeah.
He's the only guy I have interest in on this team.
Yeah, Woods, Nico Collins, John Mechie.
Yeah, I don't care about those guys. Maybe Schultz, but John Mechie's the guy that I have interest in. He was a first or second round pick, I think.
And Noah Brown.
Okay. He was a second round pick last year, lost his whole rookie season due to cancer. But the guy is an electric athlete out of Alabama, and he is the one that I would put, because he's also someone that you're getting for free, legitimately free. Draft your team and then cut somebody and sign John Mechie. That's where he's going to be. No, he's not going to be a top 10 receiver, but somebody's got to get points off of this team. So those are my two picks. So
bad teams are fantasy gold. So we'll see what happens. I just don't think I just don't think the Texans have any gold on their team.
No,
minus Schultz,
maybe.
And that's, he was good in Dallas because he had a good quarterback to throw to him. Now he's got nothing.
All right. Any last words on? Speaking of last words, that's Houston.
That's Houston for sure. That's this whole division. Well, not really the whole division, because I like Jacksonville.
You guys got anything? I dominated.
No,
I got nothing. Avoid the plague.
Yeah, that's another team on my avoid players from list. So
all right. So going from talking about two overrated, shouldn't have been early draft pick rookie quarterbacks to the guy that should have been the first overall draft pick, we're going to talk about
I don't know how to make sauce.
And the Indianapolis Colts. If you didn't hear that drop before, Dave, that's actually Jim Irsay drop.
Nice.
So we're going to go to Jim Irsay's Indianapolis Colts. New head coach. Adam, where's the head coach from?
He is from the Philadelphia Eagles, and I absolutely loved the Colts draft. And the reason being is because they brought in Shane Steichen, okay, and they draft Anthony Richardson, who is basically Jalen Hurts, okay, and that guy turned Jalen Hurts into a superstar last year. They go to the Super Bowl. Obviously, he gets the job in Indy. I'm looking for Anthony Richardson to have some sort of Jalen Hurts-esque season, for him. But yeah, I liked it. I loved the pick for them. They also brought in, I'm assuming, backup quarterback Gardner Minshew. So you don't take a first-round quarterback and don't start him, right? So
yeah.
One that I was kind of curious on is they bring in Isaiah McKenzie as one of their wide receivers. And we know the hate here on the Fantasy Football Bros podcast for Isaiah McKenzie, even though he was a Buffalo Bill last year. I can't like everybody, right? So, but yeah, the Colts are just a tough one for me, to be honest. They're so in between for me. They're they could be very good, but they could also shit the bed.
Well, I'm an unabashed Anthony Richardson simp. I pretty much got Jay on my side, Adam's flailing. Where are you, Dave? I don't know your stance on Anthony Richardson.
I mean, I do. I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I do. Do I think he's going to come out and be lights out? I don't. But for the future of the Colts, I feel like this was a solid move.
Yeah.
And as you know, going from the woes of Matty Ice, anything is an upgrade here. But yeah, I like the move. I think I'm an Anthony Richardson fan. I think he's a great player. I think he is, in my opinion, he has the skill set that I think is going to translate the easiest into the NFL game, because we do see a lot of quarterbacks that come in and it takes them a little bit of time to get adjusted to the NFL system. Their college game plan and their college style does not always translate as well. I think Anthony Richardson has that potential to step in and be an immediate starter. I think he's going to start slow, but I do think long term he's going to be a good player in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm calling the shot right now. He's probably going to be a top 10 quarterback for me this year when I make my rankings. He is just a big, solid, athletic runner. He's going into a team with good weapons, guys. People forget that this team has Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. Like, we were talking about this team as a Super Bowl contender in our eyes last year because they added Matt Ryan. And he was a complete bust, but they're all of a sudden they're dog water, and they added a fourth overall talent rookie. Like, I'm not saying they're Super Bowl contenders, but they're a much better team than they played as last year.
Yeah,
they really are.
And I like Michael Pittman. So that's why I like the move with Shane Steichen and having them draft Anthony Richardson. That was great for them. Jay, did you read their starting lineup yet?
No, not yet.
What do they got?
ESPN, I think, is smoking crack because they got Gardner Minshew listed as the starter.
They do, yeah.
There's no way that he starts.
Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and tight end Jelani Woods.
They got a lot of good tight ends, actually.
Yeah, they do.
I like what they got. If you're going to compare this team to the Eagles, say, Jalen Hurts, okay, yeah, he had a great year, but Anthony Richardson's a much better, at least say, prospect than Jalen Hurts ever was, right? So you got the comparison there. Jonathan Taylor's way better than anything that you can think of on the Eagles from last year.
I agree.
But look at the receivers. So you're not going to say Pittman's better than A.J. Brown, but
no, absolutely
comparable.
Not.
He's definitely comparable.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown
he's a big target for him.
And let me remind everybody at home, I love A.J. Brown. He did absolutely nothing until last year, really. He was all hype until last year, and because he finally got into a system that works for him. So this could be, Michael Pittman. Same way. Michael Pittman, big athletic guy. And it's kind of hard to compare, Josh Downs or whomever to Devontae Smith. But like Devontae Smith is a tiny guy. These guys are small guys. This is the exact replica system. It's like perfect for Shane Steichen. It really is. So
I agree.
I just think this team is gonna Pittman's another guy that's going really late in drafts because they're taste in the mouth last year. This team's gonna surprise people, I think.
I agree. I think so too.
I agree.
And there's no scenario in my head that Gardner Minshew starts week 1.
Well, it could happen, but what were you saying, Dave?
I mean, I agree. I think there's, obviously some value to be had here, especially when it comes to late rounds in the draft, right? So Michael Pittman, a lot of people had a salty taste in their mouth from last year. I mean, I drafted him a bunch last year. I was super high on him last year, and I'm honestly even higher on him this year. Because if I know guys are kind of worried about drafting wide receivers with rookie quarterbacks, but in this situation, Michael Pittman is the clear cut number one. Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie does nothing for me. I'm not worried about it whatsoever. And one of the things that takes the longest in most cases for rookie quarterbacks to learn is their reading the progression, right? So a lot of these game plan schemes are going to be, first read is going to be Michael Pittman. And if Pittman has an inch of space, he's going to get that ball. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for Pittman. And I think, like we said, they got Taylor in the backfield, so he commands some respect. They're going to have to stack the box at certain times. Pittman's going to have those opportunities to get open. He's going to be the clear cut number one read. And I think Richardson can get him the ball. So I'm excited for his season this year.
Yeah. So Pittman had almost 1,000 yards with Matt Ryan. Pierce had 500. So with Richardson, it's got to be at least the same.
And
I
then
would think.
don't forget, guys, too, like Dave mentioned with Taylor in the backfield. Once they start running QB options, there's no way you're doubling all the receivers. So
Right.
once you start running these QB options, because everyone like last year kept jerking off because of Jalen Hurts and his 1 yard runs. Okay, great, but Jalen Hurts is a good runner, good athlete. Anthony Richardson is an upper tier, greatest athletic quarterback prospect ever in the history of the NFL draft. Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Ever. So, like, if this guy can walk into the league and be about as good a passer as Baker Mayfield and probably be a top 5 fantasy football quarterback. Is that absurd?
I don't think it's absurd. No,
I don't think it's absurd either.
Because look at what Justin Fields did, and Justin Fields is awful.
Yeah,
awful.
He's not a good passer. He's not a good passer.
And who knows? So even
but he was on your championship team.
That's very true. So even if Anthony Richardson comes in and throws as bad as Jalen Hurts his first 2 years, or throws as bad as Justin Fields his first 2 years, this guy's a top 5 fantasy quarterback if he plays the whole year. Possibility.
I can see it
because of his athleticism. Mm-hmm. He's not going to get 1 yard touchdown runs like Jalen Hurts. He's going to bust out like 60-yard runs like Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for Anthony Richardson, obviously Jonathan Taylor, so super high on Michael Pittman, everybody else. Again, I'm avoiding like the plague. The tight ends are great. You just never know what you're going to get. Mo Alley Cox could get 3 touchdowns one week, and it's Jelani Woods getting 3 touchdowns next week.
I was just going to say you're all over the board with the tight ends there. I mean, if you're really looking, if you don't get one of the top tight ends in your draft, definitely look to those guys super late. But even on the waivers, if you're just going to streamline a tight end, like I typically do every year, is I just look for the guy who had the best week last week and hope to God he can repeat it. Usually it doesn't work out for me. I always struggle with tight ends in any draft that I do. I don't know. I look to get at least 10 points from a tight end. Those guys are probably below that. I definitely agree with avoiding the tight ends there.
Well, we've got a couple more teams to talk about, so let's go and talk about
reigning, defending, undisputed
AFC South champion. Surprisingly, last year, nobody saw it coming, in the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I have a lot to say about this team, but Dave, let's start with you. Obviously, the big guy that they brought in was Calvin Ridley. They re-signed Evan Ingram. The draft, they also brought in running back Tank Bigsby. They also brought in running back D'Ernest Johnson. Does that make the running back room a little messy where everybody thinks that, they have a guy that's solid and good to go, second round pick?
I mean, I'm not worried about it.
Travis Etienne. Sorry, I didn't say his name. Travis.
Yeah, no, I'm honestly not worried about it. I mean, Etienne is the guy. I feel like I would go into the draft. I would go into a draft with Travis Etienne on my radar. Bigsby, great runner. I'm just not super concerned about it. D'Ernest Johnson, definitely not concerned about that. I mean, he rode pine in Cleveland for however long until Kareem Hunt got hurt. He's decent, but I see it as just depth. They love Etienne. He's going to be a workhorse. I'm not worried about that at all. And Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. I mean, another amazing
Zay Jones,
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this team, it looks like fantasy. I don't want to say fantasy gold, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of value on this team.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of drafts, I know we were just on last night, and Chaz took Calvin Ridley in the third round. That's probably where I could consider taking him, to be honest. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him too, and not remembering that he's coming back off of his suspension last year.
Yep.
Calvin Ridley, he was just an absolute beast in Atlanta. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year with a good quarterback in Lawrence, and he definitely Lawrence ascended to the next level last year. He had a great season. and he did it without Calvin Ridley. So now that you add him into the mix, I can't see the Jaguars losing this division.
And that's what I'm going to bring up to Jay. So Jay, if you go back into recent history, you got Josh Allen, a young rookie, doing his thing. They bring on Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen makes the break and becomes huge. Kind of the same thing for Kyler Murray when they brought in Nuke. Kyler Murray did break out fantasy-wise and do, fairly well. Kind of the same thing with A.J. Brown going over with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts kind of the same thing. People forget about Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins and Tua breaking out. Are we going to follow the same trend here, Jay, and have Calvin Ridley be that big of a change for one of the greatest quarterback prospects of all time, who finally has a stable head coach and possibly a number one alpha wide receiver?
It's very possible. I mean, Zay Jones had 800 yards receiving last year as a wide receiver too. So Calvin Ridley on this team with Christian Kirk, they might both have 1,000-yard seasons.
True. That's so very possibility. And if great point.
No one saw Zay Jones having 800 yards receiving and being actually fantasy relevant last year. So
Bills fans definitely didn't see it.
No,
not at all.
We just saw him running naked through a Vegas
through a Vegas hotel.
So Dave, I did my why not of saying why not Trevor Lawrence a top 5 quarterback this year? I mean, what's holding Trevor Lawrence back this year?
I don't think anything's holding Trevor Lawrence back. I think from everything that I've seen, Calvin Ridley is coming into the season in form. It doesn't look like he's, taken his suspension very lightly. He's been working hard from everything that I've seen on it. So I think Calvin Ridley comes in. I just think this offense, I think they're going to need some time, right? So if you're looking for Trevor Lawrence to, be rock star QB1, QB2 weeks 1, 2, 3 of the season, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that break is going to happen, much more towards the middle of the season when they start getting comfortable with each other. Will he finish up as a top 5? I think he definitely has a chance, but I do think it is going to take some time. And where I'm really looking at the value on Trevor Lawrence is to hope that, I can wait a really long time on my quarterback, and then hopefully Trevor Lawrence does not do very well in the very first few weeks of the season, and then I can make a trade for him. Is really where I think a lot of the value of Trevor Lawrence is like, hopefully he doesn't start off that great and you can make a trade for him and then get that blow up on the turn.
I think you're asking for a lot here, because what happened in one of Trevor Lawrence's last games against the Chargers, that man went nuclear in the fourth quarter and put that team on his back and won that game from 20 something points down.
It was like 27 to 3 or something, or maybe it was a little less than that, 24 to 3 or something. And I remember watching that game. I was out with some friends, and I put in a parlay for that week in the playoffs, and of course it was like the second game, I think, right? It was a late game that week. I'm watching the game and I'm like, all right, I picked the Chargers. They just absolutely rolled the Jaguars, and they're up early, and I'm like, yes, this parlay is gonna hit. It's the only one I missed on the parlay.
Well, and so but my point, what I was saying is, Dave said it's going to take a little while to get humming, and I don't know if that's true, Dave, because this team didn't lose anything but Marvin Jones and brought in Calvin Ridley, and I couldn't think of a bigger fucking addition as opposed to a subtraction in the entire league. It's the same team, the same running back, the same tight end, the same core of receivers, and just bringing in an alpha dog receiver. So, I would not be surprised if by week 4, everybody's rankings for quarterbacks of the week has Trevor Lawrence 3rd, 4th.
Yeah. He finished 8th last year, so 5 through 8 was Geno Smith, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence.
And he has a much better team. He's got much better potential than any of those guys, and that includes Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this guy is, but I also don't think it's that hot of a take, because I think a lot of people are saying it because it makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, that there's going to be a year that Trevor Lawrence blows up and becomes the Trevor Lawrence that everybody assumed that he was going to be as soon as he got drafted. And let's be honest, he got drafted and he went into, a terrible situation for just an awful situation for him. And we've seen flashes of what he could be, and it definitely kicked in the playoffs last year. And I don't think anything is holding him back from ascending to that next level. Like I said, I do think it might take a few games to just kind of get that going, because typically what we've seen out of Trevor Lawrence in the past few seasons is this first few games is it does take him just a little bit to get going. But once he gets rolling, like, he's cooking. And I would be totally fine going out, leaving my draft with Trevor Lawrence as my QB.
I would too. So we got one more team to talk about, and then we'll do our rankings, and then we're done. And that team is the Ryan Tannehill. Possibly Will Levis led, but we'll get to that. Tighten up, Adam's new favorite team. Tighten up.
No, I will never be a Titans fan ever again.
That's what he says now.
Adam's leaving us.
No. Trust me, I will never like the Titans.
So come October, he's going to be doing a podcast in a Titans hat.
No way. Their key additions, the only one that's of note is maybe Sean Murphy Bunting.
Yeah. And whatever.
That's about all they added. Maybe Al-Shaair at linebacker, but key draft additions, they have offensive lineman Peter Skoronski, Will Levis, and then running back Tajay Spears.
Great pick.
Yeah, absolutely. But their key departures.
Losing Lewan and Bud Dupree.
Yeah, they lost Taylor Lewan, Bobby Trees, Nate Davis, Randy Bullock, who cares, whatever, David Long, DeMarcus Walker, Bud Dupree. Big loss for them.
Yeah, Lewan and Bud Dupree are the two biggest out of that group.
As you can see, guys, their free agency and trade grade was a D+. That's fitting for the Titans.
But
they're a D+ team.
It sounds like everyone's down on them.
I am so down on the Titans. I don't care if they have King Henry. They still have Ryan Tannehill.
They have Will Levis too.
But he's not their starter. I could see him starting later on in the season.
Yeah.
But I couldn't care less about this team.
So obviously their big fantasy assets are King Henry and Treylon Burks. And Dave, I seem to see King Henry going in the late second round sometimes in fantasy drafts. Is that crazy? That sounds crazy to me.
I can't understand it. Honestly, I can't understand it. I don't. Why? Are people so worried about Tajay Spears that we're pushing like possibly one of the greatest fantasy running backs of all time into the second round?
You know what it is?
I think it's more of the age.
He's what is he, 29? He's like
29.
So he's like a year older than I don't know, like Zeke and them. Like, and I know the same probably age as Zeke. It's like a year older than Kamara. He's like a year older than Kamara, Joe Mixon. Everybody likes that group, the Dalvin Cooks of the world. But the difference is that this guy has led the NFL in rushing, or was top 3 in rushing like every year.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and he's probably going to continue that trend. And
they go to the second round. People are running in the draft.
Late second round. That's crazy. I'm still high on Derrick Henry as a running back. It's such a pass heavy league, and I think that has to do with it too. That there's so many good receivers that people take over running backs now, and then your whole first round is pretty much wide receivers, and then you get CMC sprinkled in there with Eckler and
Kelsey.
Exactly, and I see Josh Allen going in the first round, and like it's just wild to me that Derrick Henry is falling that far after having however many good seasons there were. Like so what was it last year that he got hurt in week 10, right, or week 9 or whatever it was, and he had like 900 yards.
Yeah.
In like 7 games last year.
Yeah, he finished with 1,500.
He finished with how many games did he miss, Jay? 2?
Let me see if I can.
It might have been the.
I
It might have been the year before that I'm talking about.
He missed one game.
One game.
Yeah. Okay. So one game last year. It was the year before because he finished number 2 in rushing yards last year behind Josh Jacobs. I think it was the year before that I was talking about that he got hurt. He had like 900 yards. And then he came back in the playoff game, I think. Or I don't even know if he made it back that season. But
2021, he played 8 games and had 937 yards.
Yeah. Like, that is absolutely – that guy was on pace for over 1,800 yards.
So he has that season, comes back the next year and misses
for 1,500 yards
and runs for 1,500 yards in 16 games. And now everyone's like, yeah, cool. Second round, I'm going to take Devontae Adams with Jimmy Garoppolo over him. Like, what are you on? What are you on, people? Seriously, like, you're going to run. I seen Jalen Waddle going over this guy. Like, CeeDee Lamb go. Oh my God! I almost vomited in my mouth when I saw Garrett Wilson going over Derrick Henry. Like, y'all are taking this wide receiver thing to the moon, and thank you so much. Please, please take Garrett Wilson. Please, take Garrett Wilson over all these running backs. Please take Garrett Wilson over King Henry. I will gladly, I'll give you $5 if you do it, because
I was just gonna say I will pay you to draft those guys before Derrick Henry if that means that I can get him on my squad for sure.
The age is definitely not on his side though. He's got a lot of wear and tear, so it's gonna hit at some point.
But he's showing no signs.
But he doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and I think that's where I'm at. Is that I understand running backs don't last into their 30s, but
he's
this
got
guy
8,300 yards.
Oh, he's a freak. He's an absolute freak.
He is.
What is
I would definitely take him where he's going, but you still got to prepare yourself that you never know when it's going to hit for running backs.
What did you read their starting lineup yet, Jay? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. But
Ryan
listen to the starting lineup:
Derrick Henry, Treylon Burks, Westbrook, Kyle Phillips, and some tight end.
Kiki Okongwu.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just Derrick Henry and yeah, you're right. Treylon Burks, right? They got to throw somewhere.
Yeah, and that's it.
But to not take Derrick Henry, and it's just this is a team that is going to run the ball constantly.
Yes.
Yep.
And
blows my mind.
I think the age, obviously, for running back is a concern, but
sure.
Like we've said, a lot with a lot of these guys, it's like we've been waiting for them to prove it. You know what I mean? Like these Kyle Pitts, and it's like, prove it, put it on the field. Let's see something. Like Derrick Henry has never not proved it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every single time you draft Derrick Henry, like at the end of your season, you felt good about it. Like he's never let you down. So I do realize that sometime it might, it might be coming soon, but he's just never given us any reason to not trust him. And if Derrick Henry is sitting there anytime in the second round, he's gone.
Oh yeah,
he's sure. I'm taking Derrick Henry anytime in the second round.
And here's some numbers, Dave. What are these numbers? 12, 16, 17, 10, and 13. What are those numbers, Dave?
Touchdowns.
His touchdowns over the last 6 years. Here's another interesting stat for all you nerds out there. Here's his receptions the last we'll start 2018, we'll go to 2022. You tell me if something sticks out. All right. Jay, you tell me. 2018, Derrick Henry, 15 receptions, then 18 receptions, then 19 receptions, then 18 receptions. Then in 2022, he had 33 receptions. This guy's catching more balls than ever.
Yep.
I don't understand how this is happening. I understand we're waiting. Like Zeke last year was a 3rd round pick. Zeke had 12 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. This is all I have to say about Derrick Henry. He runs a 4.5 coming out of college. Okay, so maybe he runs a 4.6 now. He's the size of Hulk Hogan, everybody. He is the size of Hulk Hogan. So
Just built like a absolute brick house.
Go out there and draft Garrett Wilson, 5'11", 192-pound receiver who has a washed-up, no-arm quarterback throwing him the ball right now, and leave Derrick Henry, the 6'4", 245-pound monster, for me to take. And thank you for another fantasy championship, everybody at home, because
All I do is win.
because I'm not stupid like all these best ball players.
I don't even know what else to say. I just have no words.
This is what I gotta say. Don't draft Ryan Tannehill. Don't draft Will Levis. Draft Treylon Burks as your 5th receiver. We'll see what happens. Don't draft any other Titan. Maybe Chiggy Okonkwo, just because tight end is a fucking wasteland.
Yeah, I agree with you. Please leave Derrick Henry on the board for me because I'm snagging it.
Yeah,
100%.
Real quick on the receptions. I mean, we've seen that reception total on him rise. We saw it rise significantly last year because of the depleted wide receiver core that they have, and they basically did nothing to improve that.
Nothing,
so,
absolutely nothing. That's why this team is just dead to me, minus Derrick Henry. And I still honestly can't even. You can't convince me to take Treylon Burks, to be honest.
Well, here's
I don't know. You just can't.
It's been a long episode, but one more question about this team: how much will the needle move on this team if they do land Nuke Hopkins?
Still Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball.
I was going to say here's
or Will Levis.
Well, I got a new drop. What I heard there when I asked that question, this is what I heard.
Yeah, basically,
it's still Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball. I just can't. I can't get behind it. Do you have to draft Hopkins based on how he plays? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think he goes to Tennessee. I don't. I really don't. And if he does, they're going to pay him a stupid amount of money, and they're shame on them because they should have paid AJ Brown that money. But they didn't. They decided to trade him to the Eagles and a better suit for him. But DeAndre Hopkins,
don't go there.
Don't. But it's just it's Ryan Tannehill, guys. Don't even bother.
All right, Dave. Let's start with you to break down these teams. All the teams we talked about. We have the Jaguars, the Colts, the Titans, and the Texans. Where is this division finishing, Dave?
I'm going to take the Colts because I really think Anthony Richardson pulls this one out and just kind of takes them to the next level. And then I'm going with the Jags. Then we're going with the Titans. And then, that other team that we won't speak of.
I'm 100% with Dave. That's exactly my pick. I think Anthony Richardson's going to take the Colts to where they should have been last year. I do like Jacksonville a lot. I don't think it's going to be a big, disparity. I think they're going to be maybe
one game.
12 win and 11 win team, something like that. But I'm going the same exact way Dave said. Colts, like I picked last year, and I was wrong. But the Colts, the Jags, and then the other guys. What about you, Adam? What you got?
I have the Jags number 1, and then I have the Colts, Titans, Texans.
And Adam,
and I could very easily swap the Jags and the Colts, but I'm gonna go with Jags first.
And what do you got, Jay, for your final?
I'm the same as Adam, but also I was really debating between the Jags and Colts. I think it's going to be pretty close, but I gave the edge to the Jags just because they were far better last year. So
and the only reason why I go with the Jags is because I know what I can get with Trevor Lawrence. I want to see Anthony Richardson, and I'm excited to see him. He is a rookie, and we know how I feel about rookies. So yeah.
And I also want to say congratulations in advance to the Arizona Cardinals because you made that trade with the Houston Texans, and you're going to have the first overall pick next year, and you're going to get Caleb Williams and say,
"Hey there, little fella,
get out of here," and you're going to set yourself up moving forward. So we made it. We did it, guys. We did it.
Let's go.
Yes.
To the end. Next week we got which I think is going to be the big episode of the AFC and NFC East. A lot to talk about. Us being Bills fans, of course. The Dolphins are, on fire with what they're doing. Everybody thinks the Jets are going to be good, and and then there's the Patriots, and then there's always stuff to talk about in the NFC East. The defending NFC champions, the Cowboys are always there. The Giants are making big moves, and then there's Washington. So, lots to talk about next week, Dave. You're always welcome back if you'd like. So
thank you again, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Anytime. We might have our official sideline Jets reporter of JC Money coming in to talk about the Jets and nothing else, because that's all he knows. But he is the boss of the network we're on, so he can come in whenever he wants.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The boss always gets a spot.
That's true.
Absolutely.
So, long episode. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Dave, let's get some drops on what you got going on, please.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out a podcast that I do with my buddy, we do a show called Let's Talk Nerdy. It's available on all podcast platforms if you're into video games, movies, entertainment, all types of nerdy stuff, comic books. Check that out. We put a little bit into it and hope you guys like it. And check us out on YouTube. If you haven't checked us out yet, head over there, hit that like and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And thank you guys. Really do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man.
His podcast is great. They go really
love it.
Kind of like we get sometimes, and
absolutely love it.
And they have great production. I mean, they're forcing me to get better at this stuff in a good way, because that's what friends are, and that's how things go. And they're trying to help us out get better on the video production side. So I appreciate it. And I'm helping Dave try to learn fantasy football. maybe your boy Adam. Maybe we'll help.
I'll go get a championship. But you just wait till I got my own champion drop. It's coming over here on this side.
And then I don't know if there's any help for it. We'll give Adam, your co-host Adam, a shout out. I don't know if there's any help for him, because he literally said on the podcast that he won't draft any Kansas City Chiefs. So that's tough.
There's one rule that you got to learn in fantasy, and that's just to put your hatred of teams aside and just focus on the money. You know what I'm saying?
Tom Brady won me so much money, guys.
Yep. No.
Tom Brady won me so much money because of all you dumb Bills fans. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, Jay, thank you for joining us as always. You better start.
Yep, no problem.
A big episode next week.
I'm always prepared.
We got a lot to talk about, you, and you're our point man here. Adam, again, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me as always. Dave, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
And again,
thanks for coming on, Dave.
Thank you for having us on your show the other day. Absolutely had a blast, and you're always welcome here as well. So.
And of course,
thank you for being here.
And of course, thank you for joining us.
Pickles on my pickles.
She got a lot of screen.
She got a lot of airtime today.
Don't forget to check out Let's Talk Nerdy. We're going to be on today, I guess, as Dave said. And
today,
the song of the week, as stated earlier, guys. Happy 4th of July. Happy America Day. America. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. Check out the new TikTok. Check out our YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until then, we'll see you next time, guys. Peace.
Yes.
Peace, guys.
Later, guys.
America. Lick my blood and suck on my balls, America.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.